Hello, this is Albert, and today I'm going to discuss a game I just played against an opponent. And the interesting part of this game is actually my opponent used an opening that is very daring, but it has lost a lot of materials because of this opening. And can you guess the opening before we open it? So my opponent is white, and he was rated 1804, YoungHova6, and my name is Albert. My rating was 1589. My rating is always going back and forth because I sometimes don't play seriously like in a tournament. Sometimes I just play for the sake of it. And the opening here is Danish Gambit, and I actually accept the gambit that the opponent offered to me. So e4, e5, and then d4, e took d4, c3, d took c3, and then bishop c4. I continue taking b2, and then bishop goes to b2. So this is the interesting Danish gambit, which is of course losing a lot of materials for white, but it opens up the 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 major pieces for it to attack the diagonal. And I'm not really sure if there have been a lot of records of winning using this gambit, but then I think it's a very aggressive gambit, and you need to be very careful for it because suddenly all of the bishops are active attacking the king side of black, and I really need to prepare for this. So I move with the next move is a mistake, c5, according to Stockfish 8 engine, and but I believe the opponent didn't really play accurately because it moves knight goes to f3. I move my knight to c6, and then castling kingside b6, trying to fianchetto my bishop and then try to counter attack to the king side and freeing up my bishop, of course. And then knight goes to c3, bishop goes to b7, continuing the fianchetto plan. Rook e1. Suddenly my king is actually under an indirect attack by the rook, and I really have a thought of escaping. So here I go, queen goes to c7, trying to make up space for the king to castle queen side, because it's so scary. And the pawn f7 is very weak at the moment. Knight can easily go to g5, and all hell broke loose, I suppose. But it didn't happen here. So queen goes to d5. This seems like a scary move, but I can just move a queen d8. This is I believe is a strong move because it protects the pawn at f7, as well as opening the bishop at b7 to attack the queen at d5. So queen goes to e5 here, check. It is a blunder because I easily take it using my queen. Knight goes take, and I simply uh, push d6. It's a mistake, I know. The best move is actually f6, but who cares? Because I just want to move it here. And knight goes back to f3, knight goes to c6, rook from a goes to d1, and I do a queenside castle to protect the pawn at d6. Knight goes to b5, trying to sort of undermine my knight at c6. Probably it has to protect I believe a7, and if there is any pawn advancement from e4 e5, then I have to sort of be careful because yeah, it's not that simple to protect a lot of things here. So what do I do next? I move my knight to f6, then bishop takes f7, because if I move my knight to h6, I think it's slow and conservative and I don't like it. So Just bring it up, and I lose one pawn for the tempo, which is alright for me. King goes to king goes to b8 to protect the pawn at a7, just in case there is any pawn advancement and my knight can take it. So as predicted, e5 here, and I simply take. Oh, sorry, didn't take straight away. I just moved my knight to to e8 first, in case the pawn takes, and the pawn did take d6, and I take it back using my knight, and then knight takes knight at bishop goes to e5 trying to pin my knight, but I simply take the bishop that is trying to pin using my knight at e5. Knight takes back at e5, and then I move my bishop to e7 to connect my rook at the 8th rank, as well as probably trying to free up my dark square bishop later on. Knight takes d6, I have to take using my bishop, and here actually it is suggested that white to be careful at the bang rank threat of mate, and it is suggested for white to move pawn to f4 here to protect the knight, as well as avoiding any bang rank mate if there's any exchange in pieces here. So let's just have a look what happens if it didn't comply. So just bishop goes to c4 there. I'm not sure, probably just trying to avoid the bang rank mate, but it's actually not really protecting because I still have the same color white square bishop. So I simply take the knight using my bishop. So bishop takes e5, and then rook takes d8 check, and I simply take back, and here I believe the rook at e1 cannot take my dark square bishop at e5. Can you believe it or not? Because if it takes like this, which I will punish, I will move to my rook to d1 check, and it cannot cover. If the bishop goes to f1, I simply move my bishop to a6, and there will be a pin of the bishop at f1. How does white defend here? It is going to drop the bishop or it's going to lose. But here white was trying to defend using check, so rook goes to e8 check. My king is marching to c7, going to close to enclose the space between the king and the rook, and then it still continues the effort of not trying to sacrifice piece or losing. So it goes to e7 check and king d6, and how can white defend here? It resigned. Can you believe it? It's actually resigning. So it's going to lose both of its pieces, I suppose. It's going to lose its rook, and it's going to lose its bishop for sure. So be careful, actually, mate. YoungHova, be careful, and because there is a threat of bang rank mate, and it should be actually treated carefully, because from here it's actually better to move f2, f2, f6 to free up your king, as well as protecting your knight. Because if you do this, then I simply take this. I don't mind the piece exchange because you can't take my bishop at e5. If you took it, which you did, if you took it, then I simply rook goes to d1 check. You cannot cover using the bishop because I will go move my bishop to a6, and there will be a pin that you cannot actually unlock. So that's it. Even though you tried to check me, I simply march my king close to your rook, and your rook will be lost. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you later.